Hi everyone, today I'm just going to take a quick look at how to fill in the box called How To on your subject guides. You'll find this box underneath the strands of the subject guide template, and you'll see that it's quite different from the other boxes that are in your subject guide template, as it's not meant to contain information related to the subject matter specifically. It's more about helping students to develop skills that will support them in their work. So the purpose of this is that while the top picks box, along with the want to find more box, provides students with information related to the topics covered in the curriculum. So in this area it would be growth and changes in plants. Here in the how-to box, these are resources that we want to provide to students, or tips and information we want to provide to students to help them make their thinking visible and to enable them to express what they've learned. What we will find shortly when we look at the Ontario curriculum is in this specific area of science and technology for the elementary grades, there are not a lot of specifics as to what types of assignments or types of work students have to do to express their learning. However, it is required that they learn some fundamental skills such as oral communication and written communication. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to look at how I have determined in the curriculum what types of resources to look for, and then I'm going to show you some resources that I've selected. And again, thanks to Julia for letting me use your grade 3 science guide as an example. Okay, so I went ahead and looked up the Ontario curriculum, and one thing I'll point out is that each of the curriculum documents can be quite different. This one was written and published in 2007, so it's a little bit older, and some of the more recent publications, such as the social science curriculum, you will find is structured differently, so you might find your information on what types of resources to look for your how-to section in different places in the document. Okay, but I would generally say the best place to go when you're getting started is the grade that you are developing your guide for. So on page 69 is where we're going to start. I'm going to scroll down to page 69. Let's see where I am. This is grade 2, not quite there yet. 2. Okay, here we are, grade 3, science and technology, the first strand. I have read through this previously to prepare for this tutorial, and I'll just point out that the places where I found information to help me were first of all in the overall expectations, as I found the word demonstrate and understanding that plants grow and change and have distinct characteristics. What this says to me is that students are expected to demonstrate an understanding. And so what we need to do, or what I'm going to do, is look for resources that help them to demonstrate this understanding. So essentially, help them in how to communicate what they've learned. So as I scroll down and look at these specific expectations, many of the pieces of information here are more specific to the subject matter. So it talks about aspects of plants and living things, etc., etc. However, what I'm going to look at is where it says developing investigation and communication skills. This is skill sets that they're going to be needing to develop. So I'm going to look under here, and I found that in 2.5, where it says use scientific inquiry and experimentation skills, explained on page 12, that was one of the areas where I could add value in the how-to section, is finding resources that support their scientific inquiry and experimentation skills. And further down, I found in 2.6 and 2.7 other areas of wording that I thought related to the how-to section, because it says use appropriate scientific terminology or technology vocabulary, and then use a variety of forms oral, written, graphic, multimedia to communicate their different audiences and for a variety of purposes. So these are all things that I think are ways in which students are showing how they have learned the topical subject matter within the curriculum through their use of vocabulary, through the scientific method and experimentation skills, and through their forms of communication. So this was incredibly helpful to me when I was doing my research. And another thing that I looked at was page 12 for the more specific details on what the scientific inquiry experimentation skills are that students are learning. So I'm going to scroll back up to page 12 and show you what I mean. Okay. All right, so here's page 12. So this is the skill continua for scientific inquiry and technological problem solving. There's a lot of information here, and basically what I pulled at was this aspect here of communicating. And to me, I selected this because I think that in order for a student to demonstrate what they have learned, they need to be able to communicate it. And so that relates to the how-to box. And as I go down, this continua or continuum provides more specific information on what's involved. And at the bottom, under communication, it talks about oral communication significantly. So in this first, second, and third sections, it all refers to oral communication. So one of the resources that I specifically went looking for were oral communication tips for students. And I found this video. And it's about tips on giving oral presentations, and it was developed by a teacher, and it seemed to be for an appropriate audience of grade 3. It wasn't too advanced, and it was very visually appealing, and I think it's going to speak to the kids and help them. So I want to include this video. I also located this dictionary. It's by the Oxford Publishers, so Oxford University Press, so it's a good reliable source of information. And I did a few test searches for different scientific terms that they are using in this area of the curriculum, and there were some really good deep and varied definitions that came up, and I thought that could be useful. And then the last thing that I wanted to recommend was Prezi as a software application that students may want to play with and learn how to use as an alternative to just PowerPoint in terms of presentations and oral communication. All right, so now that I've determined I'm addressing communication skills as the how-to aspect that I want to support here, I am going to insert that here. In the brackets, you'll see it says write a 5-paragraph essay. That isn't actually what we're wanting everyone to go looking for. It was merely an example. As we can see from the curriculum, there's no evidence that the grade 3s are going to be writing 5-paragraph essays. So I'll delete that. And I'd say how to improve your communication. Save. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is insert the content that I found and I want to use. So I do it in the same way as you've probably all been doing up until now, and that's by add reorder. And then I select the content type that's appropriate for what it is I'm inserting. And for example, I want to insert a video, so I use Media Widget. And then I'm going to go to the video here. I'm just going to show you from the beginning how this works. I click on Share, and there's various ways of sharing. This is the default that comes up, but I'm going to click Embed. And what you'll see is normally it comes up like this, and there's a button here that says Show More. It's only just recently come to my attention, but it's really beneficial to click on this Show More button, because you'll see here that there's various options of what can be checked off, and it's important to make sure that we have this first box deselected. It says Show Suggested Videos when the video finishes. So what that means is that this particular video will play when it's embedded in my subject guide, but I don't want other videos that are recommended by YouTube to come up afterwards. And we all know there's lots of examples of why that can be a bad thing. So I'm going to copy the code here, go here and put it in embed by pasting it. And the next step of something you may or may not know yet is to enter the tags center and then enter the closing tag /center. And what this does is this opens a tag here and closes it by putting the / and center after it. And what that does is that centers this video within the column. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the width and the height because I recognize that it's going to be overly large for this narrow column. So I'm going to make it 300 wide and oops, I'm going to make it 200 high. And I can always come back and adjust this if it isn't quite right. So I'm going to say presentation tips. Okay, save. And ta-da, there it is. And I'm sure we're kind of thinking to ourselves at this point, Kristen, why would we insert a video if it's that small and if it's in a tiny little column on the side? Well, I'll just point out that when the student goes to watch this, they can either choose to watch it in the overall screen here, or they can click on the button here that will grow
Tips
and
on giving oral
expand.
presentations with Mr. Brewer.
Whoa, that's a nice face. Or they can expand the video like that, in which case it doesn't really matter if it's in the side because they can always pull it up to see it in the full version. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is, as per the VLC guidelines and procedures, is annotate this resource. It already looks appealing because it's sitting here and it looks like a nice video, but I want to tell students why they need to watch it, why it's something important. So to do that, I have to add a different content type because with these widgets and media, you can't enter text below. So I enter rich text here. Okay, so watch the above video to learn some quick and easy tips to help you with your presentations. So I'm going to center that, save, close. There we go. So now it's annotated. And I'm going to add my other information. So they're both links in this case, so I'm going to add the content type of a link. First one is the dictionary. So I'm going to copy this, Control-C. There we go. Okay, I had to think of what to say. So I put, use the correct terminology for your presentations and written work. Try this dictionary to help you find synonyms for scientific terms. And you can see here in terms of the description display, I'm just going to keep it at the default at this point of display beneath the item title. Save. So there's my second recommendation. And my third, I'll insert the other link. And again, this is Prezi. So I'm going to Command C and V. Okay, so I've put Prezi. Try this presentation tool to make your presentations exciting to watch. Okay, and one thing I'm going to point out here, and it doesn't have to be done in this way, but I've tried to remain along the theme of one specific area, and that is communication. In fact, I may even want to put communication and presentation skills. Save. So it's maybe too long, I'm not sure. I might play with that. But I'm focusing on communication and presentation skills in this how-to section. All three of these resources I've tied back to that theme. I've also provided a couple of different formats. You can see there's video and then 2 links. And there are also a variety of types of information. This first one are tips, so practical information. The second one is a resource that will enable students to actually go and find definitions. So it's actually more in line with the types of things that you would provide in a top picks box in a way, because it's a research resource. And then the third item is a tool, so something that they could practically use. It's not necessary that you do it like this, but it's good to provide a variety of formats as well as a variety of types of information. Now the last thing that I'm going to do is delete the instructions. So I go here to this little pencil and I press delete. And now I'm finished. And the last thing I'm going to point out here is that it's not essential, as you will remember and recall from the instructions for the how-to box, that every box on each strand be different. In fact, it could be beneficial that students see these resources on each strand. So what you can actually do is, once you finish compiling the resources that you want to share with students, is to map this box to the other strands that are remaining. And then you have less work to do, right? So you've only had to do it once. Okay, well, if you have any questions, please be sure to ask me. I hope this tutorial was helpful, and I look forward to seeing how to do all kinds of things on your guides. Thanks, bye.